Who is the real user? Am I using this device, or is this device using me? That's something I think all of us should ponder on at this point and check in occasionally just to make sure. This morning, I just saw that someone just asked, how do I stay sane and happy using social media? And that question is similar to how do I use a knife and keep all my fingers? And the simple question of that is that you are cautious using the tool, because a knife is almost a necessary tool to get things done, and it can be extremely helpful. But if used incorrectly, you can cause a lot of harm to yourself and other things or people. Social media is essentially a virtual town square that anyone, anywhere in the world can visit. And for the individuals that have been around before the internet, you remember that you go to the town square to see the shops and the stalls where people would try to showcase and do business. You'll find artists trying to share their art and promote it. You will find people sharing their beliefs and ideas. And most people will just go to spend some time and see if they see anyone they know, connect and make new friends, or find something inspiring, useful, or entertaining. For me, it's relatively easy to stay sane and happy using social media. That's because I know why I'm here for, and I have boundaries in place to make sure that I protect my peace and this work is sustainable and overall beneficial to my mission or purpose. And I also benefited from the privilege of not participating onto the social media game for most of its time it's been around, and I joined relatively late, about 3.5 years ago. That allowed me to learn from the mistakes of people who've been doing it for over a decade. Because you know that saying that stupid people never learn, smart people learn from their mistakes, and wise people learn from the mistakes of others. One of the most common mistakes I've seen people do over the years, and that's why my most common advice to people that put themselves out on social media or planning to, is to not care about the positive comments. I know that seems counterintuitive, but if you care about the positive, you would also care about the negative. You cannot have one without the other. And allowing yourself to feed off the attention and the validation that comes with positive comments, since evolutionary getting that level of attention and validation, it was linked to our survival, so you do get a dopaminergic reward. It is very similar to a drug. So if you allow that drug to be your main source of reward, when that drug goes away because you're no longer trending, you're no longer getting those numbers that you used to get before, since the brain is always trying to reach homeostasis, you're not going back to baseline, similar to any other substance or behavior that gives you this instantly gratifying dopaminergic reward. You will deal with a calm down. So when that goes away, you don't go feeling neutral. You will have a deficit and feel way worse about yourself. And also, if you are being authentically yourself, you will deal inevitably with negative interactions and comments. And since the positive ones matter to you, now the negatives will matter as well. And yes, in the old town square, if people would say horrendous things, they knew there was a likelihood of getting punched in the face. But now, behind the privacy and security of a keyboard and behind anonymous accounts, people would say things that they would never say in the real world. That's because hurt people hurt people. And since burnout is essentially people pleasing taken to a point of self-harm, I lost a lot of sympathy since I started engaging and meeting a lot of the people who are successful in the media space, because a lot of their mental health issues and burning out, it's a result of them making a lot of compromises from what is their authentic self in order to achieve success quicker. And even if they achieve that success, they end up being trapped by that performative character they created and are resenting themselves. So, a clear way for me to have this be as sustainable as it is and have this level of output I have is that I will only post and do things that are authentic with me and what I would like to put out in the world. Might not be effective from an algorithm point of view, but since essentially the algorithm's purpose is to keep people engaged as much as possible on the platforms, and evolutionary, we do have a higher reaction to negativity and danger. And that's what people would pay attention and react to more. If you allow the algorithm to make the decisions of what you should consume or what you should produce, you would end up having problems or becoming part of the problem. For me, staying sane and happy on social media, it's about having boundaries with yourself and knowing why you are on here for and acting accordingly to that why. It's about being authentically yourself, and that's going to allow for it to be sustainable enough for you to put a consistent effort required to achieve any degree of success. And even more importantly, is addressing those insecurities that you have. And that will allow you to avoid being triggered and affected. Because the reality is, online or in real life, the only opinions or comments that trigger you are about things that deep inside you might think they are true. So if you are at peace with yourself, strangers on the internet won't be able to take that away from you. Something to consider. Protect your peace.